parts and the devices inside of it to see how the device worked. And it has given me immense knowledge of how consoles and how it communicates with the consoles and the controller. I was always fascinated by technology because I saw parts and pieces I didn't understand at the time. But as time went on, I researched and kept breaking more electronics and saw some parts that were not needed anymore and some others that have evolved. The technology that has evolved over time is what I focus on now because I notice that they are the drivers of societal progress. One technology that has given us major progress is the computer, as well as its evolution over time. The computer has allowed us to connect us with a world full of resources and has given us, as a nation and the world, a huge advantage. I remember when I built my first computer. It was exhilarating because I was learning and constructing what I was fascinated about and eventually got to use it for day-to-day activities. Just seeing what you made and seeing it being able to function just lights a fire in you to do more. Ever since then, I had a dream and build and evolve computers for a better future. Over time, my fascination in technology has grown. Just as my fascination has grown, I've also seen why it has mattered. That fascination I have for computers is the same feeling others people have in their STEM field of choice. The reason why people should care about their fascination is because the technology others and I can make can potentially improve the quality of life and increase connectivity with others. Specifically for me, I would like to improve how technology can connect to each other on a network to increase productivity and automation, which would allow more machines to do more and to function more and to produce goods and services for our economy. But to also show that technology isn't a distraction, it's a tool of advancement. The fascination people have in STEM fields is essential, and it has been a driver for progress for centuries. I noticed in history that technology over time has immensely changed societies. Since the introduction of computers, technological advancements have skyrocketed. Along with technological advancements, technology can also be used as a distraction. Instead of focusing on technology, on its applications that distract us, I want to focus on technology that creates productive progress. Instead of just improving or upgrading the same technology over and over again, like phones and consoles, I want to focus on what can get us back on the progression that we are meant to be on today. I remember making my first computer back in my freshman year of high school. I used to think computers were just machines that we could mess around with. At the time, I didn't see the purpose until a couple of computer engineers explained why computers were made and how it has evolved over time. They helped me construct my first computer, and it was amazing to make a tool that was comprised of many pieces with specific functions, which amazed my young mind. Then they taught me how to be more productive with it by using applications I didn't know before. While history shows that things are always changing, we may hit a pause of progression. Growing up in a generation that grew up with technology, I have seen why and how my generation has been negatively impacted by the use of technology in a distracted manner, rather than a productive manner. This has left me to occasionally think, what is left for the world? What prevents me from losing faith in progression is that I and many others have the ability to create ideas with people from different backgrounds and credentials to come together and make solutions today. It may seem like a world full of gray, but there is something on the horizon. Since I was a young boy, I focused on progression by seeing how things worked and how technology evolved for the better. I've always was fascinated and determined to understand technology to the point where I made a computer. Making a computer led me to have a vision to seek technological advancements to improve society rather than distract it. Even though my generation is very questionable with the technology and its use case, I still believe that there are many visionaries out there. Me, along with those other visionaries, are going to reshape the world for the better. Instead of breaking things, I'm now focusing on fixing and creating. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. Carrie, you ready?
I am about ready. Hello, everyone. I just want to let everybody know that I'm going to brag for a second that Michael is my student, and I met him originally through an advising appointment, and I realized what a great communicator he was. And I'm so proud of you, Michael. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me. I've had such a blast doing this with you. So thank you, and excellent job. So proud of you, friend. Okay, so now it's my turn. And I just want to let everyone know that the Futures program was so fun and engaging. The facilitator, Tamara, is awesome, and I highly recommend it. And if anybody has questions about doing it in the future, please talk, or obviously talk to Jackie or Michael as well. Okay, I'm laughing because the little chats are like popping up from all of Michael's congratulations. Okay. Just want to make sure. Okay. All right. So what would you say the temperature is in your room right now? It seems like an easy enough question. But what would your answer be if I asked you, what is the temperature in your room in Celsius? It's kind of a weird thing to ask someone, but that question is one that I will never forget. In 7th grade, my partner and I made it to our state science fair competition at the University of Illinois. I remember the judges coming around, give us little mini interviews and asking us questions about our project. Well, I guess maybe I wasn't quite as prepared for that as I could have been. So we had followed scientific convention and we'd used the Celsius scale to measure our liquid temperatures in our experiment. That part was really easy because we just used a thermometer that measured in Celsius. But when a judge noted it and then asked me, so what do you think the temperature is in here in Celsius? I completely froze. In 7th grade, I'm not even sure I really knew what the temperature of the room was in Fahrenheit. I certainly did not know how to convert mathematically from Fahrenheit to Celsius, and especially on the fly without a calculator. So I will never forget, my palms went sweaty, my stomach, the anxiety, I felt dizzy, nauseous, confused, scared, all at once. It was really amazing to think that all of those feelings could happen in the blink of an eye, because that's about how long it took before I blurted out a ridiculously wrong answer. The judges were very polite. They nodded and sort of moved on. But my partner's reaction is forever etched in my mind. She may not have known the answer either, but she definitely knew that mine was terribly wrong. Don't worry, I wasn't scarred for life. My interest in science continued, and after being successful in math and science in high school, I pursued a bachelor's degree in electrical engineering. I studied hard, I received good grades. I did a great job of managing my own course schedule, staying on track. Such a great job that I completely overlooked a pretty important step. An advisor? What did I need an advisor for? Well, I figured out the answer to the advisor to approve my final year's course plan. And then, what are you planning to do after graduation? All of a sudden, I found myself with those same feelings. Hot cheeks, sweaty palms. Another moment in which I had no answer and was very tempted to blurt out the first ridiculous thing that popped into my head. See, I had buried myself in my books and my study to figure out that I didn't really know what I wanted to do. How could this be? After you graduate college, everything is just supposed to fall into place, right? Well, the anxiety that arose that day in my advisor's office, it sat with me for a long time. Eventually, I found a faculty member that I trusted, and I discussed my options with them. I decided that I wanted to expand my discipline. I loved collaborating, and the idea of working with people across multiple disciplines was really exciting to me. So I began a master's degree in material science. Now, I know many of you here today have been to graduate school and would agree with me when I tell our students that for many people, it is the most exciting time in their life. It certainly was for me. But for my story today, I also have to include that it was one of the most stressful times in my life as well. I won't go into all the details of my graduate school experiences, but I will tell you that I was glad to have already experienced hot cheeks, sweaty palms, and stomach dropping because that was a regular occurrence during my grad school years. So I earned my master's degree, and after a few jobs, I found myself working for a nanotechnology startup company. We had investors that had no idea what our research was about, and so speaking with them to explain our company's work became a large part of my job. This was a really important step in my career because here is where how much I really love to communicate engineering ideas. So it was another 10 years before I ended up teaching in a classroom at Wake Tech. But trust me, in that time, there were plenty of hot cheeks, sweaty palms, and stomach dropping moments. But something I've learned since I've become a teacher and an advisor is that we all have these moments and that they're really important. I've found in my career, people are discouraged from maybe admitting that they don't know something or that they're uncertain about something. But what could have been different for me if in 7th grade I had said, I don't know what the room temperature is? Would or maybe someone else there have helped explain that? Would this have encouraged me to ask for more help through? I'll never know these answers, but I can ask you all here today, how can we grow from our uncomfortable experiences? Every time I meet with a student who is unsure of a choice, a course, a discipline, a job opportunity, I really encourage them to acknowledge those feelings. Don't bury them. Don't put your head down in your books. Explore them. Where are they coming from? What can we learn from them? And most importantly, how can I help you with that process? Because the best thing about my job is helping students work through these moments of uncertainty in order to figure out how they can grow from them. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Carrie. So yeah, I have to echo what Carrie has said. Working with Tamara and going through the Futures program has been just an amazing experience. And the title of my story is actually Never Say Never. So you've probably heard the phrase, never say never. You may have actually even said it, but has it ever come back to haunt you? Well, it has for me. The purpose of my story today is to help you see why you should never say never. Sometimes it's us who tell ourselves never. When I was getting ready to graduate from college and go into a graduate school to get my PhD, I really didn't know what I wanted to do with my PhD, but I knew that I would have more options if I completed a PhD. So I entered graduate school saying, I don't know what I want to do with my PhD, except I know I don't want to teach and I don't want to run my own lab. Well, I've been in the classroom teaching for several years now, and being the START program director is kind of like running my own lab. It may look a little different than a research lab at a four-year institution, but it's still really similar. So you should never tell yourself never, because you just may end up doing the very same thing you said never and loving it. I love my job here. So sometimes it's you that tell yourself never, and sometimes it's others that tell you never. The first one of these that I would like to highlight is about where I went to graduate school. So I'm a first generation college student who grew up here in North Carolina in a really small town of Roxborough, located in Person County. If you don't know where Person County is, that's okay. A lot of people don't. It's actually north of Durham, up by the Virginia border. It's a very rural agricultural community. From Person High School, I went to Campbell University, which is in Harnett County, south of Raleigh. And Campbell is a really good school, but it's also very rural. When I attended Campbell, Buies Creek didn't even have a stoplight. I had been doing research for several years and knew that I wanted to go into the area of signal transduction. So signal transduction is how cells figure out what's going on around them and then communicate through the cell to communicate an action. So for example, if you get a cut, your remaining cells understand that there's a hole, and then they will have to move in to fill it. That signals transduction. So I knew that I wanted to study signal transduction, but I actually didn't know where I wanted to study it. So I talked to my research mentor, and she gave me some suggestions, but said that the top school in the US for what I wanted to study was the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center in Dallas, Texas. They ranked higher than Duke, Harvard, or Yale, #1 in the US. I was told by others that I would never, ever get in, that Campbell was a really good school and I had good grades and I had research experience, but I was up against stiff competition and I just wouldn't measure up. Well, I decided to apply anyway. What did I have to lose after all, right? So I applied. And you know what? I actually got in. If I had listened to the people who told me never and didn't apply, I would not have the opportunity to be in a graduate program that was directed by a Nobel laureate or be at an institution that actually had 4 Nobel laureates on staff and multiple American Academy of Science inductees. Don't worry, those are just really important science people. The second example of when others told me never is actually about you guys. When a group of us thought about starting an undergraduate research program for freshmen and sophomore students at the community college, many people told us never. Never would freshmen and sophomore students be able to conduct research. They wouldn't have enough knowledge under their belt. Community college students wouldn't want to or wouldn't have the ability to do high-level undergraduate research. But this group, what you have done, the group of us who had that vision, we had that dream, and we knew without a shadow of a doubt that you could do research and that you would want to do research. Some of you have sacrificed to make this opportunity, but you have gained so much. If we've heard from the talks today, we are so impressed and inspired by what you have been able to accomplish. And the results have been, not only through your presentations today, shown that you are successful at conducting undergraduate research, and through your tenacity to not only do something that others said never, but to do it well and to accomplish all this during the middle of a pandemic, well, you and your ability to pivot and overcome has allowed START to be named Wake Tech's Innovation of the Year, and we will compete at a national level. So you've already demonstrated that you really never should, you have already demonstrated that you should never say never. So how else are you gonna bust out of the mold that you and others put you in? Thank you very much. Dr. Ross, is there anything that you wanted to say to our group before we close?
Well, I will say what I was getting ready to type. Finish my typing. Just wanted to say I am so proud of you, Jackie, but of everyone who's connected with START. As you just mentioned, this is the Wake Tech Innovation of the Year. And one of the things I love about Wake Tech, and what I loved about coming to Wake Tech is so innovative, beyond what most people know unless you're here. And so to be the Innovation of the Year is a big deal because we really think that this is something significant. And I just want to thank all the students who are involved and all the faculty who are involved with this and making this happen, because it really is an important thing. It doesn't get nearly enough recognition that it should get in the context of everything that happens at Wake Tech and broadly, but it is so significant. So I am glad that at least this year we're recognizing as the Innovation of the Year, because that is just a small way in which all of you should recognize the achievements that you've accomplished individually, but most importantly, collectively through this are very impressive. So thank you. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. And thanks for being part of this. And thanks for being part of Wake Tech.
Thank you, Dr. Oz. Kim, would you like to close?
Thank you to all that participated today. We hope that your experiences with the START program can get you started on your very own STEM story. I wanted to take a minute to share about a special research project that the START program is involved with. This past Monday, all current START students should have received an email and a link to participate in a scientific study about your experiences in undergraduate research with the START program. This email should have come from Miss Amanda Butts at the University of Wisconsin, and the included link will take you to a survey housed in Qualtrics. If you happen to have missed this email, don't worry, a second email will be coming out this Monday. Being researchers yourself, you know how important sample size is, and we really need your help to collect data to make the START program even better. So please watch for that email from Miss Amanda Butts and consider participating in our research study. We will use the data collected from you to improve and further develop programming for the START program. We are so proud of our mentors and of our START students. Thank you all so much for participating in our very first virtual START Symposium.
This concludes the symposium, and I want to thank you all for coming and joining with us. Have a great weekend.
Thanks, Jackie.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Jackie, Kim, Malathi is part of the steering, and every faculty mentor.